There are so many different struggles going on at the moment, and it's important that we try and render as much solidarity as we possibly can. Let's just contextualise what's happening. It's interesting, this meeting's taking place in the week before you get your ballot, but also the week in which Carillion has happened. Because if Carillion teaches us anything, it reminds more and more people that, to be frank, every public services that we thought was part of just building a civilised society in which we could establish some form of decent standard of living and quality of life for ordinary working people, every one of those services has been turned into a commodity in some form under neoliberalism. And as a result of that as well, every person who engages in public services and provides that service and works within the sector becomes an asset that can be sweated even more by those who want to make a profit within our system itself. And Carillion's such a good example, but actually it's just one example of what's happened right the way across the public sector. They've transformed education into a commodity, basically, to be bought and sold. And I say it time and time again, education is a gift from one generation to another. It is not a commodity to be bought and sold in this way. And that's exactly what they've done over a period of time that we've campaigned against as a union. But as part of that commodification of education itself, they've taken workers within the sector and looked at how that as an asset can be sweated in every form. And we've seen it as a result of the suppression of wages over a long period of time now, the exploitation in terms of contracts and the undermining of security of employment, and then also the attack on the pensions themselves. And I think what's inspiring at the moment, right the way across the piece, wherever you go now, people are just drawing a line in the sand and saying enough's enough, and we're not taking it anymore, and if we have to take action, we will take action. And people have, it's not just about courage, I think it's just absolute determination that people are showing now. Because for a long period of time in this union as well, people were anxious about taking action, standing up and being counted. I don't think that's any more the case. I think you've demonstrated time and time again that you're willing to struggle, you're willing to come out and campaign, but also you're willing to take action as well. So the reason I'm here, just to speak extremely briefly, is to say I'm here in solidarity, just in the same way. My role in life for comrades here, my role in life was two things, was to be the tokenistic Labour MP on the picket line. Then also, probably my most significant role in life was to book meetings at the House of Commons for us to organise the rallies on, okay? And I just wanted to, I'm on my way to another meeting, I just want to be here to say we haven't gone away, Jeremy and myself. So whatever decisions you take in this coming period about the actions that you'll need to protect your jobs, to protect your pensions, your contracts, and also to protect the service that you provide, we will be alongside you in solidarity in exactly the same way we have in the past. And whether that's in Parliament or on the picket line, we will be with you. Simple as that. We now planning to go into government at the first opportunity we possibly can. Your guess is as good as mine about how long the Tories are going to cling on to office. They're certainly not in power at the moment. And I think I never underestimate the ability of the Tories to cling on in this way. But they are in complete disarray, whatever issue it is, and being exposed as well for what they are. And it's interesting that a number of the hedge funds that have made fortunes out of the problems of Carillion are ones that have donated to the Tory party over a considerable period of time. In fact, there's even one that contributed to the Theresa May's leadership election campaign as well. And it shows you that intimate relationship that there is between exploitative capital and the Tory party itself. But nevertheless, the internal contradictions are coming forward all the time now. They're alienating large sections of the community. What's happening in the health service now is turning to people's minds and their attention to what's happening in terms of cuts in neoliberalism and what's happening in the undermining conditions in one of our basic services. And as a result of that, I think they're alienating large numbers of people who may not have even thought of voting for a Labour government in the past. So in that disarray, we're hoping that they will eventually collapse and that we'll have a general election as soon as we can, but we're not sure when that's going to come. So our job at the moment is to do all we can to oppose them, harry them, both in Parliament, but also to support struggles outside of Parliament. That's what we're doing, but also to prepare to go into government. We're doing this exercise at the moment of taking the last manifesto, then translating that into an implementation manual for the policies. Now, in that election manifesto, we gave commitments around the proper funding of education, making sure that professionals were recognised once again, And that meant also the protection of not just their wages but their pensions as well for the long term. We'll be working up our new manifesto for when the next election comes, and we'll be working on the legislation that we need, so when this government collapses, we're ready with legislation on the shelf and the policies that we need to implement as rapidly as we possibly can. And that does mean, one of the key commitments we gave in the last manifesto we'll repeat, it means the restoration of trade union rights in this country. So what we've said is that we'll establish on the Institute of Employment Rights book that they put forward, that we virtually endorsed in the manifesto. We'll set up a Ministry of Labour that will restore trade union rights in this country, scrap the Trade Union Act within our first 100 days, but then introduce the proper regulation of labour in this country as well. So the restoration of free collective bargaining, sectoral collective bargaining, strengthened by trade union rights on the application of ILO conventions, not asking for the earth, just asking for any future government to abide by the law, abide by the ILO conventions, and in that way to start the process of restoring security of employment to people. And that does mean, again, all those issues that we've been raising, particularly in the education sector, about the undermining of people's contracts, the role that they play, the respect for their professionalism, addressing that when we go into government itself. Now, that's a huge vista of reform that we want to undertake at the first opportunity that we go back into government, but we have to get into government. And I think part of the getting back into government is making sure that we ensure that we will always be connected with the class that we represent. And that means when members of that class campaign and struggle and take action, we're alongside them, supporting them at every stage. So I just very simply give you that pledge. Whatever is thrown at you in this coming period, whatever decisions you take about the nature of the action that you're undertaking to protect your jobs, your pension, your profession, and also the very people that you serve as well, will be alongside you. Solidarity.